I am Kendra Matthews, a 32-year-old Black criminal defense attorney. My client Leila, a young Black intern, was beaten by her boss Martin after discovering his family's embezzlement scheme. To gather evidence, I went undercover as holiday help in their home during Christmas preparations. At their lavish party, I exposed them, leading to arrests. Justice prevailed, and we both emerged free and stronger. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe. Get ready for real emotional and thrilling stories from Black adults that will keep you hooked till the end. My name is Kendra Matthews, a 32-year-old Black criminal defense attorney practicing in downtown Chicago. I've built my career fighting for the underdog, people trapped in systems that chew them up and spit them out. But nothing prepared me for the day Leila Brown walked into my office just 10 days before Christmas. It was December 15th, and the city outside my window was wrapped in holiday magic. Snowflakes drifting past strings of twinkling lights, carolers on the corner, shoppers hustling with red and green bags. Inside, the air felt heavier the moment. My assistant buzzed me. "There's a young woman here. She says it's urgent." She looks scared. Leila couldn't have been more than 24. She was Black like me, with tired eyes that had seen too much too soon. She wore an oversized coat dusted with snow, and when she sat down across from my desk, her hands trembled as she pulled off her gloves. That's when I saw the bruises, fresh purple marks on her wrist, a fading yellow one along her jaw, and a split lip she tried to hide with nervous licks. "I'm sorry for just showing up," she whispered, voice barely above the hum of my office heater. "But I didn't know where else to go." "Please don't call the police, not yet." I leaned forward, keeping my tone calm, the one I use with traumatized clients. "Take your time, Leila. You're safe here. Tell me what happened." The story splitting to broken pieces. Leila had been interning at Hayes Financial Group, a boutique accounting firm owned by Martin Hayes. On paper, it was a dream opportunity for a recent college grad trying to break into finance. But 3 months in, she stumbled onto irregularities, missing funds, forged invoices, transfers to offshore accounts. When she quietly asked a coworker about it, word got back to Martin. "He cornered me after hours," she said, eyes fixed on the floor, said I was imagining things. Then he grabbed me, hit me, told me if I ever opened my mouth, no one would believe a nobody intern over him. His mother, Dorothy, runs the office books. His sister, Tamara, handles the digital side. They're all in it together. Millions, Ms. Matthews. They're stealing millions. My blood ran cold. As a defense attorney, I'd seen white-collar crime before, but this was layered with violence. Martin Hayes wasn't just a thief. He was using fear to protect his family's empire. Leila showed me text threats disguised as friendly reminders. Photos of her bruises she'd taken in secret, bank statements she'd snapped before they locked her out of the system. "Why not go straight to the authorities?" I asked gently. She laughed bitterly. "Martin brags about his connections, judges, cops, politicians who come to their famous Christmas parties. He said any report would disappear and I'd be the one in trouble for stealing data. I believe him." I studied her. Leila was smart, resilient, but right now she was a bird with clipped wings. Something fierce rose in me, the same fire that had carried me through law school as one of the few Black women in my class. The same instinct that made me take on impossible cases. Standard legal channels wouldn't work here. Not fast enough. Not with their influence. I needed hard evidence, documents, recordings, something undeniable. Then it hit me. The Hayes family hosted their legendary Christmas Eve party every year, an extravagant affair with clients, investors, and those very connections Leila feared. With holiday prep in full swing, they need extra help around the house. Decorating, cooking, cleaning. "I have an idea," I said slowly, "but it's risky." Leila's eyes widened. "I'll go undercover. Pose as temporary holiday help, maybe a housekeeper or event assistant they hire last minute. I'll get inside, gather proof of the embezzlement and the assault on you. My boxing training from college will keep me safe if things get physical." She stared at me. "You do that? For me? You don't even know me." I smiled softly. "I know what it's like to feel powerless against people who think they own the world. And I know justice doesn't always come through the front door. Sometimes it has to sneak in through the kitchen." We spent the next hours planning. I had a contact who could forge a glowing reference from a fake agency. Leila would stay hidden in a safe house I arranged through a domestic violence network. By nightfall, I'd sent my application, experienced holiday event staff available. Immediately, as I drove home through streets aglow with Christmas lights, my heart raced, not with fear, but determination. Martin Hayes thought he could hurt people like Leila and get away with it. He had no idea a storm was coming, dressed in an apron, and ready to dismantle his perfect little holiday empire from the inside. Tomorrow, I'd become someone else. The real work was about to begin. 2 days after Leila's visit, I stepped into the Hayes family home as Naomi Carter, a last-minute holiday housekeeper referred by a discreet agency contact. The reference was flawless glowing reviews. Spotless background check, everything fabricated just enough to pass scrutiny. My heart pounded as the heavy oak door swung open, revealing a world of polished perfection that hid rot underneath. The house was a Christmas dream on the surface. A 14-foot noble fir dominated the living room, draped in gold and crimson ornaments that caught the light from the crystal chandelier. Garland wound up the staircase banister, intertwined with twinkling white lights. The air carried the warm scent of cinnamon, pine, and freshly baked gingerbread. Soft holiday music drifted from hidden speakers, Bing Crosby crooning about a white Christmas. It was the kind of home that graced magazine covers, the kind wealthy Chicago suburbs envied. But the moment Martin Hayes appeared in the foyer, the warmth evaporated. He was tall, mid-40s, impeccably dressed in a cashmere sweater, with a smile that never quite reached his cold blue eyes. "Naomi, right on time," he said, looking me over like he was appraising property. "We're short-staffed with the party coming up. Mom and my sister will show you the ropes." Dorothy Hayes emerged from the kitchen, silver hair perfect coiffed, wearing pearls even for a weekday afternoon. She was the matriarch through and through, sharp, commanding, with a smile that felt like a verdict. "We expect excellence," she said briskly, handing me a detailed list. Polished silver, arranged centerpieces, deep clean guest rooms, and assist with menu planning. Christmas Eve must be flawless. Our guests are important. Tamara, Martin's younger sister, lounged against the doorframe, scrolling her phone. Early 30s, sleek blonde bob, designer athleisure. She eyed me with open suspicion. "Don't touch anything in the study," she warned casually. "Private." Her tone carried an edge that made the hairs on my neck rise. I nodded meekly, playing the grateful employee. Inside, my mind was racing. As a black woman walking into this wealthy, white inner circle, I was already an outsider. One wrong move, one hint of my real identity, and it would all collapse. The first day blurred into chores. I dusted shelves lined with family photos, Martin shaking hands with politicians, Dorothy at charity galas, Tamara at exclusive events. All smiling, all lies. While stringing lights on the outdoor evergreens, I overheard snippets. Martin on a call in the garage, voice low. "The transfer goes through during the party, no traces." Dorothy murmuring to Tamara about adjusting the books before year end. By evening, as I helped set the dining table with holiday china, Tamara cornered me in the pantry. "You look familiar," she said, arms crossed. "Have we met?" I kept my eyes down, voice soft. "I get that a lot, ma'am. I've worked in a lot of North Shore homes." She didn't press, but her stare lingered. Night fell, and the house quieted. Martin retired upstairs, Dorothy to her reading, Tamara to her wing. I waited until the grandfather clock struck midnight, then moved silently. The study door was locked, but I'd learned basic lockpicking during a pro bono case involving a wrongfully accused burglar. 30 seconds later, I was inside. Moonlight filtered through half-closed blinds, illuminating a mahogany desk piled with files. I snapped photos with my burner phone ledgers showing discrepancies, client accounts with unexplained withdrawals, and emails referencing offshore entities. One folder labeled Holiday Bonus Distribution was code for something darker. Names of guests matched deposit amounts. The Christmas Eve party wasn't just social, it was a cover for laundering the embezzled funds, handing off gifts that were payoffs. My pulse thundered as I copied what I could. Leila's bruises flashed in my mind, proof this wasn't just financial crime. It was control through fear. I was doing this for her, for every young black woman they'd exploited and silenced. Footsteps in the hallway. I slid under the desk just as the door creaked. Tamara's voice low on the phone. "She seems fine, but keep an eye. We can't afford mistakes this close to the party." Light swept the room, then retreated. I waited in, agonizing minutes before slipping out. Back in the small staff room they'd assigned me, I texted Leila from the burner. Inside. First evidence secured. Stay safe. Her reply came instantly. Be careful, they're dangerous. Lying in the dark, listening to the house settle under a fresh snowfall, I felt the weight of it all. The beautiful lights outside masked a family built on greed and violence. Danger was growing with every hour, but I couldn't stop now. Leila was counting on me, and so was justice. The real storm was coming, and it would hit right in the middle of their perfect Christmas celebration. The days blurred into a tense routine as Christmas drew closer. December 20th and 21st each morning I woke in the small staff bedroom to the scent of fresh pine and the distant hum of holiday preparations. The house was alive with festive energy, boxes of ornaments being unpacked, deliveries of poinsettias and gourmet hampers arriving at the door, Dorothy barking orders about perfect placement. On the outside, it was all joy and anticipation. Inside my head, it was a countdown to exposure. I played my role flawlessly quiet, efficient Naomi who dusted, polished, and arranged without complaint. But every chore was covered. While vacuuming the upper hallways and memorized layouts. While folding linens in the laundry room, I listened through vents for conversations. Martin grew more agitated as the party approached, snapping at caterers. Over the phone. Tamara watched me constantly, her suspicion like a shadow I couldn't quite shake. On the third day, an opportunity came during a deep cleaning of the basement storage. Dorothy sent me down with a list. Organize holiday decorations. Discard old lights, make space for wine deliveries. The basement was a treasure trove of secret shelves lined with labeled bins. A locked cabinet in the corner and a heavy steel safe tucked behind stacks of artificial trees. I waited until the house was busy upstairs, Martin in a virtual meeting. Dorothy at the salon for her pre-party touch-up, Tamara out shopping. Heart pounding, I knelt by the safe. It was digital but old school enough to have a default code that many people never changed. I tried the classics, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Martin's birthday from a framed photo upstairs, nothing. Then Dorothy sucks on the fourth try. The door clicked open with a soft beep. Inside, stacks of cash in banded bundles. Flash drives and labeled envelopes, folders thick with documents. My hand shook as I photographed everything, bank transfer records showing millions routed through shell companies. Forged client signatures, emails coordinating the embezzlement with dates matching Leila's discovery. One file detailed the Christmas Eve plan. Gifts to guests were actually kickbacks, disguised as holiday bonuses to avoid scrutiny during year-end audits. This was irrefutable proof. Not just financial crime, but a family operation built on intimidation. Leila's assault was the tip. They'd silenced others before her. I uploaded the photos to my encrypted cloud drive, set to auto-share with a trusted contact at the FBI if I didn't check in by midnight on Christmas Eve. Just as I closed the safe, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Naomi? Dorothy's voice, sharp and close. I shoved the last folder back, spun the dial, and stood, grabbing a string of lights like I'd been sorting. She appeared at the bottom step, eyes narrowing as she scanned the room. What's taking so long down here? Just organizing, ma'am, I said, keeping my voice steady. Found some tangled lights. Didn't want them ruined for the tree. She stepped closer, gaze flicking to the safe. For a terrifying second, I thought she noticed the dial slightly off. But she only nodded curtly. Hurry up. We're going out to see the neighborhood lights tonight. You'll join us, can't have staff slacking. That evening, we piled into Martin's SUV for the annual drive through the wealthiest streets, where houses competed in extravagant displays. Trees wrapped in millions of lights, animated reindeer on lawns, projections of falling snow on mansion walls, families waved from sidewalks, kids sipping cocoa. It was magical for everyone else. Martin drove, Dorothy beside him, Tamara and me in the back. He took a call on speaker, pretending it was about catering. Yes, the packages will be ready for pickup during the party, he said smoothly. All accounted for. The person on the other end mentioned a final transfer. Martin glanced in the rear view straight at me. No loose ends this year. My skin prickled. Was that a warning? Did they suspect? Tamara leaned over, voice low. You're awfully quiet tonight, Naomi. Not enjoying the lights? Just taking it all in, I replied softly. Beautiful. Back home, I slipped away to my room and texted Leila on the burner, major evidence secured. Safe had everything, docs, cash, drives. They're planning the big move at the party. I'll end this on Christmas Eve. Stay hidden. Her reply. I'm scared for you. Please be careful. Lying in the dark, listening to carols from a neighbor's yard, I felt the weight settle deeper. The evidence was damning, but I was alone in a house full of criminals who wouldn't hesitate to silence another threat. Suspicion was growing. I could feel their eyes tracking me more closely. One wrong step and Leila's fate could become mine, but I'd come too far. Christmas was almost here, and with it, their perfect facade would crack. I just had to survive. Until the party, Christmas Eve, arrived like a beautifully wrapped lie. The haze home glowed under thousands of lights, the driveway lined with luxury cars dropping off guests in fur coats and tuxedos. Laughter spilled from the open door as I circulated, with trays of champagne and cranberry canapes still playing the quiet housekeeper. Everyone looked so happy, cheeks flushed from the cold, eyes bright from the eggnog, carols floating over the murmur of conversation. The tree sparkled, the fire crackled, and the air smelled of roasted chestnuts and expensive perfume. But I knew what was really happening beneath the tinsel. Envelopes were changing hands disguised as holiday cards. Smiles masked negotiations. Martin glided through the crowd, clapping backs and whispering to select guests while Dorothy steered influential clients toward the study for private toasts. Tamara flitted about with a tablet, confirming final transfers. This wasn't a party, it was the culmination of their embezzlement scheme. The night they laundered the last big haul before the new year, I kept my head down, refilling glasses, clearing plates, all while watching for the right moment to act. My burner phone was ready to send the evidence package to the authorities with one tap. I just needed to get through the evening without blowing my cover. That moment shattered. Around 9 p.m. I was in the kitchen reloading a tray when Tamara appeared in the doorway, blocking my exit. Her festive red dress suddenly looked like a warning. She closed the door behind her, arms folded, eyes hard. You're good, she said quietly. Very good. But not good enough. My stomach dropped. Ma'am, don't, she snapped. I ran your references again this afternoon. Is this agency you claim to work for? They've never heard of Naomi Carter. And those little glances at the study, the basement too curious for ordinary help. She stepped closer. So tell me, who are you really? I set the tray down slowly, buying seconds. Denying it now would only make things worse. Someone who knows what you've been doing to Leila Brown, I said, voice low, and to your clients. Her face twisted. The door burst open. Martin stormed in, Dorothy right behind him. Someone must have alerted them. Martin's charming host mask was gone. Rage burned in its place. Search her, he ordered. Tamara grabbed my arm while Dorothy patted me down, finding the burner phone in my apron pocket. Martin scrolled through it, face darkening as he saw the photos, the cloud link, the unsent emergency message. You stupid. He didn't finish. He shoved me toward the study, the three of them herding me like wolves. Guests in the hallway glanced curiously, but assumed it was staff drama. No one intervened. They locked the study door behind us. The room still held remnants of the party half-empty glasses. A small lit tree on the side table, but the cheer felt mocking now. Martin loomed over me. Who are you? Kendra Matthews, I said, lifting my chin. Criminal defense attorney. Everything I've collected, the ledgers, the transfers, the proof of what you did to Leila is already backed up. Hurt me and it goes straight to the FBI. Dorothy laughed coldly. You think we're amateurs? We'll make you disappear like we made her quit. Martin stepped forward, fists clenched. You ruined everything. He swung. Time slowed. My college boxing training, flooded back footwear, guard, breath control. I slipped the punch, drove a sharp jab into his ribs, followed with an uppercut that snapped his head back. He staggered, more shocked than hurt. Tamara lunged from the side. I pivoted, caught her wrist, and used her momentum to send her stumbling into the desk. Dorothy screamed high, piercing. The locked door rattled as guests pounded from outside. What's going on in there? Someone shouted. Martin recovered, roaring, and charged again. This time I didn't hold back. A solid hook to the jaw dropped him to his knees. I didn't want to kill him, just stop him. Just stop him. But the noise was too much now. The door burst open under combined guest pressure. People flooded in, phones out, recording, shouting for someone to call the police. I raised my hands, breathing hard. I'm Kendra Matthews, attorney. These three have been running an embezzlement ring and assaulted a former employee. The evidence is on that phone and in my cloud. Chaos erupted. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Officers arrived within minutes. Someone important that dialed 911. Martin, Dorothy, and Tamara were cuffed amid protests and denials. Dragged past stunned guests who nor realized their holiday bonuses were part of the scam. But as detectives took my full statement, one pulled me aside. We've got most of them, but their offshore contact wasn't here tonight. He's in the wind. I nodded, adrenaline still surging. One predator had escaped. Outside, snow fell softly on the flashing lights, turning the perfect Christmas scene into something surreal. The empire was broken, but the storm wasn't quite over. Christmas Eve ended in flashing red and blue lights cutting through the snow outside the Hayes mansion. The once elegant party dissolved into chaos, guests clutching their coats, whispering in shock, caterers frozen mid-service. The scent of mulled wine and pine replaced by the sharp crackle of police radios. Martin, Dorothy, and Tamara were cuffed in the study, faces pale under the twinkling lights of the small desktop tree. The officers read them their rights while I stood wrapped in a blanket someone had draped over my shoulders. My knuckles still stinging from the defensive blows I'd landed, I gave my statement on the scene, revealing my true identity as Kendra Matthews, criminal defense attorney, and handing over my phone with the cloud link to every piece of evidence I'd gathered. The lead detective, a no-nonsense woman who clearly seen her share of holiday disasters, nodded approvingly. You took a hell of a risk, Ms. Matthews, but this is airtight. By dawn on Christmas morning, the news broke across every Chicago station. Holiday party bust. Prominent family's embezzlement ring exposed in dramatic raid. Reporters camped outside the police precinct, footage looping the lavish home now cordoned off with yellow tape. Headlines called it the Christmas crime scandal. Clients of Hayes Financial Group scrambled to check their accounts, discovering millions missing. The fallout was immediate: frozen assets, panicked investors. The whole carefully constructed empire crumbling overnight. I didn't go home right away. I drove straight to the safe house where Leila was staying, a quiet apartment run by a domestic. Violence the organization. When I knocked, the door flew open and she threw herself into my arms, sobbing against my shoulder. You're okay, she kept repeating, as if saying it out loud would make it truer. You're really okay. I held her tightly, feeling her tremble. We're both okay now, I whispered. It's over. She pulled back, eyes red but shining with something new: relief, maybe even hope. You saved my life, Kendra. I thought I'd never get out from under that fear. We sat on the worn couch, drinking hot chocolate the volunteer had left, while snow fell softly outside the window. For the first time in weeks, I let myself exhale. Leila told me how she'd spent the evening watching the news on her phone, heart in her throat, tea until reports confirmed arrests. I told her about the moment Martin lunged, how my old boxing footwork had saved me, how the guest screams had brought help faster than I expected. But even as we talked, a shadow lingered. During the raid, detectives mentioned one loose end. An outside partner who handled the offshore accounts. Someone who hadn't been at the party, somebody still out there. The threat started 2 days later. An anonymous call to my office phone breathing, then a low voice. You ruined everything, watch your back. A letter slipped under the safe house door addressed to Leila, with a single line. Accidents happen even after Christmas. Texts from blocked numbers, photos of my car in the parking garage, of Leila walking to a therapy appointment. I didn't hesitate. I upgraded security at the safe house cameras, reinforced locks, a direct line to a detective I knew. I installed tracking apps on both our phones and enrolled Leila in a self-defense class I taught pro bono on weekends. I stayed alert, carrying pepper spray again as I had in law school, scanning every crowd. Leila, for her part, began healing. She started therapy twice a week, talking through the trauma Martin had inflicted, the bruises on her body and the deeper ones on her confidence. Slowly, the fear in her eyes softened. She laughed more, even when recalling small memories. She applied for new jobs under a referral program for whistleblowers, and won a junior analyst position at a reputable firm. Called her for an interview one January afternoon. As we walked through a park dusted with melting snow, she turned to me. I used to think power belonged to people like them, money, connections, big houses with perfect Christmas trees. But you showed me it's something else entirely. I smiled, linking my arm with hers. It's choosing to stand up even when you're scared. The danger wasn't gone yet. The escaped partner was still a ghost, but for the first time we weren't running. We were building something stronger. New routines, new trust, new beginnings rising from the ashes of that glittering, poisonous holiday facade. Justice had come, wrapped not in ribbons, but in handcuffs. And we were ready for whatever came next. Christmas came and went in a blur of quiet. No grand celebrations for Leila or me, just a simple takeout dinner in the safe house, watching old holiday movies with the volume low, as if loud joy might jinx our fragile peace. The city outside was still decorated, lights twinkling on every street, but the magic felt distant now, tainted by what we'd survived. The threats didn't stop with the arrests. If anything, they grew bolder. Anonymous emails with subject lines like unfinished business. Photos of my office building sent from burner accounts. A flat tire on Leila's borrowed car that turned out to be slashed, not accidental. The police traced them to prepaid phones and fake IPs, always one step behind. The escaped partner Victor Lang, a slick money launderer who'd handled the offshore side, was still out there, and he was angry. I refused to live in fear. I'd taken down the Hayes family. I wouldn't let their ghost haunt us. So I started digging on my own, using contacts from years in criminal defense, old informants, a hacker friend who owed me a favor, public records I could access legally. Lang had gone underground, but greed leaves traces. Bank movements, property records, even burner phone pings pointed to one place. The old Hayes house, now seized and empty, waiting for forfeiture. One frigid January night, a tip came through, an anonymous text to the detective on our case. Someone had been seen near the property after dark. I couldn't wait for official backup. Lang might be retrieving hidden evidence, or worse, planning something bigger. I told Leila to stay locked down with the security guard I'd hired, then drove out alone under a sky heavy with coming snow. The suburb was silent, holiday lights mostly taken down now, houses dark. The Hayes mansion loomed at the end of the cul-de-sac, windows boarded, police tape fluttering in the wind. I parked 2 blocks away, dressed in black, moving on foot through backyards. I'd learned in self-defense training years ago. A faint light flickered inside the basement window, the same one I'd searched weeks earlier. Someone was down there. I circled to the side entrance, heart steady from adrenaline rather than fear. The door was jimmied open. I slipped inside, phone on silent, recording audio as backup. The house smelled stale, now no pine or cinnamon, just dust and abandonment. Down the basement stairs, careful in each creak, I heard muttering. A man's voice, low and frustrated. Where the hell did they hide it? Victor Lang, mid-50s, thinning hair, expensive coat, now rumpled, knelt by the safe I'd cracked before. It was open, empty. He was ransacking shelves, tossing bins of old ornaments aside in fury. I stepped into the light, looking for something. He spun, eyes wild, hand diving into his coat. I was faster, boxing instincts sharp. I closed the distance, blocked the draw, and drove a knee into his thigh. He crumpled with a yelp, a small pistol clattering across the concrete. I kicked it away, zip-tied his wrists with restraints I'd brought just in case. You, he spat, recognizing me from news photos. The lawyer. Guilty, I said, calling 911 while keeping him pinned. And you're done. Police arrived in minutes. Lang sang quickly once in custody names of other clients, hidden accounts, even attempts to intimidate witnesses. The entire network unraveled further, leading to more arrests across state lines. By morning, the detective called. He's given us everything. Case closed for real this time. Relief washed over me like caspering thaw. Back at the safe house, I told Leila. She hugged me fiercely. No tears this time, just strength. You didn't just save me, she said. You ended it. She was changing too. Therapy had helped her reclaim her voice. She started volunteering at a women's shelter, mentoring young Black women facing workplace exploitation or abuse, sharing her story without shame, helping them navigate systems that too often failed them. Watching her grow bolder lit something proud in me. I shifted my practice too. More pro bono cases for victims of financial crimes and domestic violence. My office walls air-filled with thank you cards instead of just diplomas. The work felt deeper. Now personal. The bad Christmas memories began to fade like snow melting into the earth. The lights, the tree, the carols, they weren't poisoned anymore. They were just decorations waiting for new meaning. We weren't looking over our shoulders. Anymore, we were looking forward. Spring arrived in Chicago like a long overdue verdict, bright, unapologetic, washing away the last traces of winter snow. By April, the trials were over. Martin Hayes served 25 years for embezzlement, assault, and conspiracy. Dorothy and Tamara, once so untouchable in their pearls and designer suits, received 15 and 12 respectively, their sentences stacked with restitution orders that stripped them of every hidden asset. Victor Lang, the offshore partner I cornered in that cold basement, took a plea that buried the rest of the network shell companies dissolved, accounts seized, co-conspirators across 3 states indicted. The entire criminal web spun. Over years of greed and intimidation, was gone. I sat in the courtroom gallery the day the sentence was handed down, watching Martin's shoulders slump as the gavel fell. No more charming smiles, no more threats, just accountability. Leila sat beside me, her hand in mine, tears silent on her cheeks, not of sorrow this time, but release. Afterwards, life began to bloom again. Leila landed the junior analyst job. She'd interviewed for months earlier. The firm, impressed by her whistleblower courage, fast-tracked her onboarding. She moved out of the safe house into a sunny apartment near the lake, filled it with plants and books, and started hosting small dinner parties with new friends, people who saw her strength, not her scars. Therapy continued, but now the sessions focused less on survival and more on dreams. She spoke at colleges about workplace exploitation, mentored young Black women entering finance, and slowly, steadily became the confident professional she was always meant to be. My own practice transferred D. 2. The publicity from the case brought more clients than I could handle alone, but I was selective. I hired 2 associates and carved out half my docket for pro bono work victims of financial abuse, whistleblowers silenced by power, women who'd been told their stories didn't matter. My office walls are filled with framed news clippings, not as trophies, but reminders. Justice is possible when someone fights for it. Leila and I stayed close, our bond forged in fire. We texted daily, met for coffee weekly, and celebrated each milestone together. And when December rolled around again, exactly 1 year after that fateful Christmas, we decided to reclaim the season on our terms. We hosted a small gathering. In my apartment, just us, a few trusted friends from the shelter, and my gym, soft jazz playing instead of carols at first. We ordered soul food, fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, and laughed louder than I'd laughed in years. Then, halfway through the evening, Leila stood up with a mischievous grin. "I have something," she said, pulling a box from her bag. Inside, strings of warm white lights, a small tabletop tree, and ornaments we picked out together the week before, glass stars, tiny boxing gloves for me, open books for her dreams of advancement. We decorated slowly, deliberately. No rush, no fear. As the lights came on, casting golden reflections across the room, something shifted. The glow wasn't mocking anymore. It was ours. Leila plugged in the final strand and stepped back. "To new traditions," she toasted, raising her glass of sparkling cider. "To justice," I answered. "To us," everyone echoed. Later, when the others had gone, and it was just the 2 of us on the balcony watching snow begin to fall over the city lights, Leila turned to me. "I used to think Christmas was for people who had perfect lives," she said quietly. "Perfect families, perfect safety. But now I know it's bigger than that. It's light in the darkest season. Hope when everything feels lost." I nodded, throat tight. "And sometimes that light comes from people who refuse to let the darkness win." She smiled, the real one, full and unafraid. Like a certain attorney who walked into a lion's den for a stranger, and a brave young woman who trusted her enough to ask for help. We stood there in silence, snowflakes catching in our hair, the city sparkling below like a promise kept. The darkness had tried to own us. It had bruised us, threatened us, chased us through the cold. But we had fought back with evidence and courage, with friendship and fire, and we had won. Christmas wasn't tainted anymore. It was redeemed. It was ours. And in that quiet glowing moment I knew, no matter what shadows the future might hold, we would face them the same way together, unbroken, free, because some lights don't flicker. They burn brighter than ever.